President Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
I want to dive right into this, a lot to get to.
Good.
There are a number of things that make your campaign unprecedented. You are the first former president to run for re-election in more than 100 years. You are facing 4 indictments. You have an incredibly significant lead in the GOP primary polls. But I want to ask you this, Mr. President. Why do you want to be president again?
Well, it's a very simple answer, and I can give it very easily. It's called Make America Great Again. Our country is in serious trouble. I don't think we've ever been so low in terms of certainly opinion, world opinion, and country opinion. People are devastated. They look at what's happening with millions of people coming in, millions of illegal immigrants coming into our country, flooding our cities, flooding the countryside. I think the number is going to be 15 million people by the time you end this. By the end of this year, I think the real number is going to be 15 million people. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions, insane asylums. They say, sir, please don't use that term, but it's true. They're terrorists at a level. It was very interesting. On NBC, I saw a poll, and I saw some statistics, and it said in 2019, there were no terrorists. They caught no terrorists. There was nothing that they saw. There was no anything. And now, this year, it's a record number like they've never seen before. So we did a great job at the border. We did a great job with the military. We did a great job with inflation. We had essentially no inflation. We had a great economy.
Wow.
And we didn't have an Afghanistan disaster. We were getting out, but we were going to get out with dignity and pride, not the way they got out. That was a surrender and an embarrassment and horrible. We gave $85 billion worth of equipment to the Taliban. We had death, so much death and so much horrible destruction. And it was a terrible thing. I think it was the lowest point in the history of our country. Now, with all of that, we can change it and we can make America great again, and that's why I'm doing this.
Well, and you have talked about a lot. We are going to delve into a number of issues you brought up. You talked about all the people coming across the border. Of course, a lot of families also coming across the border as well. I want to talk to you about that a little bit later on. But first, let's talk about the breaking news today. We learned just a short time ago that the president's son, Hunter Biden, was indicted by a federal grand jury on 3 gun charges. Given that, Mr. President, can you continue to say that there are 2 systems of justice?
Well, I think there's no question about it. He had a plea deal that was the deal of the century. The Art of the Deal. You could write a book on it, The Art of the Deal. And all of a sudden that was broken up by a judge who was able to, a brilliant judge actually, who was able to see through what was happening. And it's a sad situation. I mean, nobody should be happy about this. I'm not happy about it. Nobody is. It's a very sad thing. It's so bad for our country. But, you know, if you think about it, I've been under investigation from the day I came down the escalator, and a phony investigation, fake investigations, investigations that I beat every single time, still under investigations. But it's a very sad thing, and it's a slippery slope, and dangerous, very dangerous for our country.
But you talked about the plea deal, but now Hunter Biden's been indicted. He's facing very serious charges. So doesn't that undercut your entire argument that there are 2 systems of justice in this country?
It's one of 12 charges. There are 12 possible charges,
and
this is the only charge that doesn't affect his father.
Well, he's still under investigation.
Well, sure, maybe. I mean, let's see what happens. But this is the only charge that doesn't affect Joe Biden. This was the gun charge. But gun charges are very serious. You know, people have had gun charges and gone to jail for a lot of years. I pardoned some people who I thought it was just horrible what happened, but they were put in jail for many, many years, rappers and others. So, look, it's a bad thing, but it's one of 12. And it's the one charge that doesn't affect Joe Biden.
Well, of course, there's no evidence that the president has any link to his son's business dealings. Let me ask you, though, about a second.
I don't necessarily agree. He called in. You mean he called in all these meetings? He was calling in on the meetings. He was put on speakerphone and every single day. And
the witness
literally
testified.
many, many calls. And what about the fact that he got rid of the prosecutor for $1 billion?
Well, the witness who testified.
You don't get rid of this prosecutor. We're not giving you $1 billion to Ukraine. He said that. I mean, there are a lot of things here.
Mr. President, the witness who testified, though, said that he never heard any discussion of business when President Biden was put on the phone.
You saw the prosecutor thing on television. because I saw it on your network. He said, you don't get rid of this prosecutor, I'm not giving $1 billion.
That was looked into as well, and as you know, there was never any wrongdoing.
If I ever said that, quid pro quo.
Let's move on to what a second Trump term would look
Sure.
like. When you launched your campaign in March, you told the crowd, quote, I am your retribution. What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think retribution is talking in terms of I have to protect people. What they're doing to people is so horrible. They're putting people in jail for long periods of time. Firemen, policemen, accountants, even lawyers. They're in prisons for years now and don't even have trials in some cases. And if you look at Antifa and other groups, practically nothing happened to them. They burned down Portland. They burned down Minneapolis. They took over Seattle. I mean, they literally took over a big chunk of the city. People died and nothing happened to them. We have to protect all people.
But when you talk about retribution, are you talking about directing your attorney general to try to go after your political enemies?
When I talk about retribution, I'm talking about fairness. We have to treat people fairly. These people on January 6th, some of them never even went into the building, and they're being given sentences of, many years.
Are you going to?
And nothing is happening. Well, I'm going to look at them, and I certainly might if I think it's appropriate. No, it's a very, very sad thing, and they're dividing the country so badly, and it's very dangerous.
Well, Mr. President, we're going to delve into that a little bit later on, but I want to stay on this idea of what you mean by retribution. Are you looking to appoint an attorney general who will prosecute the people you tell them to prosecute?
I'm looking to appoint an attorney general who's going to be tough on crime and fair. Very simple.
And go after your political enemies?
No, I would never do that. But Biden has done that. Look, Biden, these aren't indictments against me. These are Biden indictments. This isn't God coming down and very fairly said, Joe, you spoke badly about an election. The election was rigged. There's no question about that. There's so much proof on it. Even if you go to the more modern day proof with the, they call it Twitter files, FBI and Twitter, or you take a look at the Amazon stuff or the Google stuff, or you take a look at 2000 Mules, you take a look at all of the ballot stuffing that's on tape, you take a look at the fact that the legislatures didn't approve a lot of the things that were done in the elections and they had to approve. And we could go on forever. But no, I want somebody that's going to be strong, respected, tough, and fair.
Just to go back to a couple of the points you said, the ballot stuffing, that's something that's been debunked.
It hasn't been
As
debunked.
you know,
it's on camera.
But I do want to keep moving forward.
Yeah,
and of
because
course,
it's on camera. Hundreds, even thousands and thousands of people. You take a look. True the Vote. Take a look. It's on camera.
But Mr. President,
they have
you know,
thousands of
Republican
pictures.
officials
But
and
I know,
top
but
law
Kristen, you can't
enforcement
say
officials have
they have
told you that
thousands
that's
of pictures
debunked.
of people. I know you have to say that for your network, but you shouldn't say it. Because that's the problem.
But Mr. President,
the news has lost such power.
Let's stay on track, though, Mr. President. Let's stay on track.
But you're saying it hasn't. We have thousands of essentially motion pictures of people stuffing the ballot boxes.
But Mr.
Tens
President,
of thousands.
they're not stuffing the ballot boxes. And you've been told that by your top law enforcement officials. But let's stay on track because we have so much ground to cover.
You have people that went and voted in one place, another place, as many as I understand, 28 different places in one day with 7, 8, 9 ballots apiece. They can't do anymore because it would look too phony. These were professional people. They were stuffing the ballot boxes. It's there.
Mr.
I mean, it's there to see. A lot of people don't like looking at it.
60 different cases all across the country. You lost that, but let's stay on track.
We lost because the judges didn't want to hear them.
Mr. President,
but if this were ever before a court, we would win so easy. There is so much evidence that the election was rigged. And you may not even put the section on your show, and you'll have to decide what you want to do. But people know it was rigged. Look, the media, when I first got involved in politics.
As you know, there's no evidence of that. We have so many different
tremendous evidence.
I want to talk about what a
Listen, let me ask you this. You agree there was Twitter files, right?
Notice how she said there's no evidence. See, that's the part right there that they're running, because the no evidence part that they keep on trying to talk about does not have any merit without the fact of proving that point in court. This is what they're saying. Now, when she said there's no proof of that, is she talking about her demon democratical blood-sucking group or is she talking about the American people seeing that evidence for themselves? Is the question that we must ask. You know what I'm saying? We've got to let the demon Democrat is the type of people who think that they think for you. You know what I'm saying? Anything they say, you must believe, and fuck anybody else and what they saying. You see what I'm saying? Fuck anybody else and what they saying. Only what we say is true. And that's the end of it. That's the way they like to think. Now, if we allow that, this is what caused the migrant issue. This is what caused the migrant issue to go through. You see what I'm saying? While people were letting the demon Democrats run shit, manipulate Trump, you know what I'm saying? Take his words out of context, Photoshop, you know what I'm saying? Interviewers like this conning their way to con the people's mind by using the media as if it's a psychological block mind thing on the American people. You know what I'm saying? This turned out to be the result of it all, where the people should have been listening to what was going on based on that factor. But they did not. The whole factor was Trump is an asshole, according to the demon Democrats. You know what I'm saying? Fuck y'all asses. And don't worry about it. So this interview is full of garbage.
Mr. President.
You agree there were 51 intelligence agents that lied. You agree with that?
I'm not the one who's being interviewed. Let's stay on track because I want to talk about
that's rigging the election.
That's what voters want to hear about.
I'm not being the one interviewed.
Let's talk about what's happening on Capitol.
I'm not. You notice what she said? I'm not being the one interviewed. Yeah, but you're the one interviewing the President of the United States on a demon democratical mind frame level of trying to trip him up and make him implicate himself into guiltiness that she does not go with Trump. It goes with her and the demon Democrats. That's why she said there's no proof of this. Well, the question would be to her, well then, why don't you prove it? You know what I'm saying? Where's your evidence to prove that that didn't happen? As we can clearly see. You know what I'm saying? She's not proving anything but just constantly accusing. You know what I'm saying? This is the demon Democrats, how they keep the pressure off themselves. They accuse everyone else and then run down the road politically. We're not, first of all, we're not at the border. Second of all, many of us don't live in New York, but we see the shit that's going on. Anyway, many of us didn't have a chance to check the ballots. We're not going to never get that chance. We're not going to get a lot of things. The only thing you're going to get is these fucked up interviewers on these fucking media sites interviewing Trump and many other officials to try to trip them up to make them look bad. This is a bad thing. I told people this before. This is a bad thing when you have the media sites and all these media trying to do this shit. Because that's 95% of the information if you don't have boots on the ground. It's going to come from media. So it would be very easy in their mind frame to use the media to manipulate and lie. Same as he was saying, open border policy. You know what I'm saying? While people were busy talking about beating Trump, they won't listen to the fact that this man was preaching open border policy. Now you're talking about 15 billion people in the country, overloading the medical system, going to overload the welfare system, going to put your American ass on the motherfucking back burner while China has the technology to shut our whole shit down. Imagine all these criminals led into the country. China pulls that stunt and people go crazy. But it's going to be, people need to wake the fuck up. They need to wake the fuck up. You know what I'm saying?
Hill right now. Speaker McCarthy announced that he was launching an impeachment inquiry this week into President Biden. Do you see this as a part of the retribution that you seek?
No, not at all. I think, look, you look at the terrible things that have been happening with respect to Biden. Look at everything. Jamie Comer, Jim Jordan are fantastic people and very legitimate people. I watched Jamie Comer just a little while ago talking about a lot of different facets of what's going on. And he was the one that said, I guess there are 12 things where it looks like it's stone cold guilty. And the gun charge is only one of the 12. He said, this is the only one that doesn't implicate Joe Biden.
So, but my question for you, did you talk to Speaker McCarthy about this House impeachment
No,
inquiry?
I don't talk to him.
Did you tell him that he should open a House
No, I don't do
inquiry?
that. I don't think he'd do that. I mean, he wouldn't do it based on me, no.
Did you talk to your Republican allies on Capitol Hill and say you should support this?
No, I don't have to talk. They're more proactive than I am. They think it's terrible. I will say this, they think I was treated very unfairly. I mean, when I was impeached for a perfect phone call, and now it turned out to be perfect, I hope you will admit that at least, because I was right, 100% right. But I was impeached for a perfect phone call. And how sad that is. And
you notice I always say a perfect phone call. It was a perfect phone call. He didn't do anything wrong. They just tried to see what I'm saying, how the media can play shit up. Now they said that his phone call said incited insurrection. Because at the time, the people's minds were still stuck on the fact that he's a sour loser. You know what I'm saying? When he was a sour being cheated out of his shit. But, you know what I'm saying? But you notice how they tried to use the phone call. When you look at the phone call, everybody didn't take time, I guess, to examine the phone call in its fullness. The media played that. You know what I'm saying? The media played that. Now we have to look at what's going on now. The media played the same thing when it came to the border. The media played the same thing when it came to accusing Trump of putting them in cages. When it was Obama and Biden, creepy Biden and creepy Obama. You know what I'm saying? Luciferian ass. And, you know what I'm saying? Knowing that they would unleash and dump their toilet on the United States. Just like Trump said. They let every criminal, every people out of mental institution who rape, kill, murder, chop people up and all kinds of shit, and let them through our fucking border without a checkpoint, without checking and, you know what I'm saying, doing a background check and all kinds of check on these people. So now this is a setup to when China do that technology shit and shut our grid and all our power and all this shit down, that's going to last for 365 days, like the guy said over and over and over. Imagine all those criminals, all those retarded people that they let out their shit, all the sickos that they let into this country. I'm not talking about the good people. I'm talking about the sickos that they let in, because that's basically what they did. Because if you go back and look at Fidel Castro, when America was putting pressure on him, the same thing happened. You know what I'm saying? I think it was either I think it might have been Fidel Castro, so forth. But, you know what I'm saying, say that he's going to flush his toilet into the United States. He's going to flush his toilet on the United States. What that means is he was going to let all the criminals out of jail. He was going to let all the crazy motherfuckers out of killing, murdering, and carrying on that he had locked up, and he dumped his whole jail system into our country. You know what I'm saying? And they came over here with free reign, which means that they're not in prison anymore, and they just go run around America and do whatever they want to do. You know what I'm saying? But over there, they had committed crimes against humanity, murdering, killing, raping, the whole nine, drug selling, the whole nine. And Fidel Castro had rounded all of their asses up and had started locking them up. So when America started pulling their stuff and it became the Cuban Missile Crisis shit and all this and that, they were putting pressure on thing, he dumped his toilet on us. You know what I'm saying? And those people are still here today. They might be old, but they're still here today. You know what I'm saying? As we see.
We had 196-0 vote for Republicans. Very unusual for the Republican Party. I was so proud of them. 196, the entire House, not one person dissented. And then other than Romney, who sort of gave me half a vote, but we had 100% in the Senate. People think I was treated very unfairly.
Well, the people who
I know I was treated.
People who voted for that impeachment say that the phone call that you referenced was about a quid pro quo.
It was perfect.
But
my phone call was perfect. My phone call was saying, please investigate any crimes that you see. And by the way, I'm mandated to do that as the President of the United States.
That's right.
And it was really a call to congratulate him on winning the election. But,
Mr. President,
when you talk about quid pro quo, please don't talk about quid pro quo, because there was none in the call at all. Where there's
That
a
was
quid
the
pro-
heart- what
where
I'm
there
saying
is
is
a
that was
quid
the
pro
heart
quo
of that impeachment.
was when Biden said very strongly, we're not going to give them the $1 billion unless they get rid of. The prosecutor. That's a quid pro quo.
Mr. President, let me take a step
Well, you
back
get the
here,
point.
because
We're
a
not
lot
going to
of
go down the
voters say
road
what
with this,
they want
but
to
you get
talk
the
about
point, and
right
you
now
can see the
is your
bullshit of the
vision
media.
for the future.
You know what I'm saying?
And I've been
So sit
traveling
tight,
to
stay
a lot
right.
of the